Artesia radio show. We had some famous people in Artesia, in and around Artesia yesterday. Pull that microphone up there, Kirk. There you go. I didn't know if you knew this. We had a governor and a vice president in Artesia.
I did not know that.
Yeah. I knew about the vice president deal because I was there and I seen him. And I have a picture, proof with him and the mayor or commissioner or whatever he does or whatever he was doing that day. I think he was doing both.
Depends on which hat he wears.
Well, they kept referring to him as the mayor, and Alan Davis, who's the county manager, was there. So maybe John was just being mayor and letting Alan handle the county duties. But then there was a governor sighting. And somebody sent me a picture of the governor. It is the governor, but it's not real clear where she is. Supposedly she was in Artesia at Los Agaves, but you can't really tell from the picture. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think it's Los Agaves, but I'm not entirely sure that it's at Los Agaves. And but that's the story that we heard. So all these famous people just kind of floating around Artesia in one day.
My goodness.
Yeah. Don't we feel special?
We are special.
Well, I know we are, but all that. So I'm sure the governor was doing some campaigning, and then I think I know Pence has got a think tank group, and he was in town gathering information from the oil and gas industry to try to formulate policy to present to our leadership in Washington, D.C., to try to influence our lawmakers on what would be good policy to have in regards to our energy policy. So
just about anything would be better than what we have now.
Ain't that the truth? I mean, it's really kind of sad. Our president's been begging everybody else on the planet for oil.
Why doesn't he beg his own people?
We're standing on it. We're right here on the edge of one of the largest reserves of oil on the planet.
We could be selling it to Europe instead of Russia.
Exactly. But that's a different topic for a different segment. We did get to record. We were allowed in long enough to record the vice president's statement. And then we were quickly ushered out of the room and told to go away.
That's interesting. They've probably not dealt with media like we have around here.
A little more friendly media. Although, I was there representing Artesia. There was a gentleman there from the Kern Argus who was representing them, but of course they're USA Today, and so they feed a bunch of national people. And then I got to see my friend Cindy from, she's now at KOBR TV up in Roswell, so she was there with her cameraman. And I think there was one other photographer there that was taking pictures. So we're not talking like CNN, MSNBC, NBC, right. ABC. They weren't there. It was just me and Cindy and the guy from the
Kern Argus.
The Kern Argus, and we were the media, but and we knew ahead of time that that's what was going to happen. It was just kind of an interesting experience because I'm used to just, I've been here long enough. I think most people, well, a lot of people know who I am. Not everybody, but a lot of people do.
We don't see your picture on the radio.
I know. And so I had my tub of stuff, and I had my tripod over my shoulder, and I walk in, and there are a couple of local law enforcement folks, and they're like, "Well, we got to look at your stuff." I said, "It's me." Gene, the guy that does all the video stuff for the sports. I know, but we have to check. So I guess being the former vice president, there's still a certain amount of security that follows him around.
That's my understanding, yes.
Yeah. And
I remember when George Bush II was here out at the pit, and all the people that were Secret Service people. I mean, there was still quite a few, and he was no longer president.
Yeah,
and, being from around here, you could kind of pick out the Secret Service people because they just looked a little different than the locals.
The guy that came up to me, and I knew what the protocol was. I mean, I was informed we're going to have you come in, you're going to record his opening statement, and then you'll have to leave. I said, okay. So I knew that was all going to happen. But this guy comes up to me, and he may have been Secret Service or security or whatever. He comes up, "You have to leave now." Look, dude, I know.
I guess they're used to media wanting to.
Oh, I know. Anyway, let's get it because I know we have a brief time with you. Let's talk a little bit about the state has been promoting. I know that Lowell's Pharmacy has a COVID-19 vaccine clinic.
Yes.
Coming up on, is it Tuesday?
It's this Tuesday morning, out at CVE at their community room, the Jack Case community room. So that's where we'll have it. It's just walk in. Generally speaking, these vaccines, the Moderna one, which is what we have, is a frozen vaccine, and we've got to thaw it out over the night, so to speak, and it takes, I want to say it was 6 hours is in the literature for it to thaw out. So we have kind of anticipated on how many people we're kind of expecting to be there, and we're also having a few extra vials that are will thaw out for that clinic. So if extra people come in, we'll still have that over what we're kind of estimating, and we don't really anticipate using all the vials that we're going to have thawed out, but they're also good for 30 days once they're thawed out before you actually have to throw them out, as long as they're not open. So whenever we open one, we need to give several different doses at one time, which is why we try and schedule people, stack them up on a particular day so that we can anticipate having to have a vial thawed out, and then also how many, being able to give at least 2 or 3 doses out of one vial. These current vials that we now have that are the bivalent, you can actually get 5 doses out of one vial, where before it was 10. So
okay,
there is some changes to some of these protocol type things, but that pretty much is on the healthcare side. The general people don't need to keep track of that. I just kind of like to explain why we want to have people make appointments to get those vaccines, but we should have plenty of vaccine available for Tuesday morning, and we'll have flu shots out there too.
Okay.
They're fine to get them all at the same time. So,
is this, the original COVID-19 vaccine was a 2, except for Johnson & Johnson, the Moderna and the Pfizer, you had to get the first one and then 3 weeks later get a second one. Is this one starting like that, or is this just in essence a booster, so you just get one?
These are considered booster shots, and so you're just getting one. There is some talk about using this as a primary vaccine for people that have not had a COVID vaccine before, but at this point, it's just assumed that everybody that has wanted to get a COVID vaccine series has already gotten that.
Mm-hmm.
And from here on out, they're just really looking at boosters. I do think there is some talk, so to speak, going on at the FDA and those types of government agencies that are looking at having these booster shots for somebody who has not had a vaccine series before, and using that as the primary, what they call the primary, the first series. But that hasn't been approved or even released yet. I'm assuming that this is going to be allowed, but because you're going to have people that were too young or kind of, that are aging up over the years that will then be eligible for these shots. So there's got to be some kind of mechanism to be able to get those people what they would call the primary vaccinations.
Right.
And right now, the booster vaccine is all that's available.
Okay.
So
Now, if you say somebody got the first series, but they've not had any of the boosters since then, Is this still considered a booster shot, or are you kind of back at, like what you just said, maybe starting over again?
No, this is considered still just a booster shot, and uh, that's how they're treating it. And the boosters, it doesn't really matter what your primary series was. They're saying you can mix and match all your boosters. The primary series, if you had Pfizer, they wanted you to stay with Pfizer. If it was Moderna, they wanted you to stay with Moderna for those first 2 shots. But then after that, that's considered the primary series. Or if you had the J&J shot, that was a 1-shot series. So once you've had that 1 shot, everything else behind that is considered booster shots.
Okay. And then what is the recommended age range for this bivalent COVID-19 booster?
The bivalent that's Moderna that we have is 18 and higher. I know the Pfizer vaccine goes a little bit younger than that on their boosters. I want to say it's 16. I'm not positive. I haven't kept up with it since we don't have the storage facilities that Pfizer requires for their vaccine. So we knew we weren't going to be able to keep it. So I have kind of read that, but it's been a little bit, and I just haven't kept up with those ranges.
So Tuesday at Jack Case Community Room, CVE, what time will the clinic be?
I believe it is 9:30 to 11:30.
Okay. And if you have any questions, just reach out to your folks at Lowell's Pharmacy.
Yes,
All right. Kirk, I know you got to open the store.
I do.
All right. Thanks a lot. Good to
Thank
see you.
you.
And